As F1 leaves the Americas, within a week they'll be in the Middle East for the last three races in a close battle at hand between constructors and drivers' championships. With that, welcome aboard another edition of the F1 Starting Grid. I am Brock Young with the temporary points leader, or second place, I should say. No, yeah, I don't think you're permanent, Mike Allen. Welcome aboard, man. Before we get into the Brazilian Grand Prix and all we got to talk about today, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. It was a fun race. It was a fun race to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And Hamilton is a beast.
He is.
No way around it. We are living in a special time where we are witnessing probably the greatest F1 driver ever to strap it up. To do what he did, coming from what he started out, ninth?
Yeah.
After starting out the sprint race in dead last. So let's recap. They hang some penalty on him, so he's got to start the sprint 25 laps from dead last, and he finishes fourth. And if there'd have been 5 more laps, he'd have finished second. He went and he was driving that car like that thing was going to fly off the wheels. Then we get to the race, and he's fourth, right? Oh no! We got another penalty. Let's get him back to 10th. So he starts out 10th and wins the race. That's crazy. That's nuts. No one else could do that. No one else could do that.
Well, speaking about penalties, we'll get to that in here in a second. But I think this close battle really is what he needs to be shown as a champion. Because if you see back in 2016, he pushed that car, even though Nico Rosberg was just a hair better that year. Lewis Hamilton pushed that car, and he's pushing this car this year.
Oh, it was crazy. He was driving possessed. That's the only thing. When I was watching the sprint, that's the only thing that kept going through my mind is this man is driving possessed. He's absolutely laser focused. I mean, that car was hugging every single turn, and he was blowing by people like they were standing still. And that's driving furious.
Mm-hmm.
And then to start out 10th, not even in the front 3. They didn't even give him. It wasn't like, hey, he's in the front 4, like in the first couple. He was in 10th. Hold on. I got to plug my battery in.
Okay.
He was down there in 10th place. Has a couple of really, really, really good pit stops, and his team is to be commended. The Mercedes team is to be commended, and then just blows by everybody and takes the win. And that last battle between him and, I mean, both were on fresh. Here's the litmus test. Both were on fresh tires or fresh enough tires to be equal, and in an equal race, not only did he come from behind, catch up to Verstappen, pushed him for 4 or 5 laps, and then just took him out. I mean, it was crazy. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
He won by 10.5 seconds, but if there wasn't any safety cars this race, would he have won?
Probably not. Because but still, if even with the safety cars, which I think made this race a total different race than the other ones, even with the safety cars bunching everybody up, that puts you on an equal footing.
Mm-hmm.
That puts you in of course it helped him out, but if everybody else was equal to Hamilton, they'd all be fighting for it, and they weren't. They were getting past like they were standing still, and it was crazy. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Well, let's talk about this right quick. It's a reported investigation by the stewards that, thanks to Mercedes, they reported it, and apparently on lap 48 and turn 4, Max and Lewis ran wide. And because Max pushed Lewis, both of them off the track, basically. They didn't wreck, but they pushed each other off the race.
Yeah.
Off the racetrack. And this opened up an investigation by Mercedes because they have new evidence, new data from Max's front part of the cam, that where he was they say, in the wrong by pushing him off the track. So by Qatar, Max could be looking at it either a 5-second grill penalty or even a grid penalty by two or three spots behind. But you saw the race.
I don't think that. That was racing. You get that fat. You're going that fast and that tight, and you're in a contested race. You're talking about making split-second decisions, and I don't think he would intentionally try to damage his car just to push Hamilton off the course, and he went off the course too. So I think it might have been, just one of those things. It's just a racing incident. I don't think he should be penalized for it. I think it'd be a tragedy if he is. I didn't think Hamilton, for the record, I don't think Hamilton should have been penalized this race either. I mean, the fact that he did, and then he came back and did what he did makes him all the, enhances his legend, but I don't think he should have gotten what he had. Personally. I think we're getting petty now.
Well, do you think the stewards will?
We're getting petty, and we're getting down to 4 races left, and this is a contested, championship. Let the boys race. Just let them race. I mean, Mercedes, stop it. Your boy came back 9 places back and won the race, and you're still going to be pissy. Just go race. Don't win. Don't let the officials win the game for you. Just go out there and play. And have more points at the end of the game. That's it. All this petty stuff. I never did agree with it. I think it takes away from the sport personally. I think Mercedes should just take the win graciously and go on to the next race.
Well, that's a good point. If you think, 2 points here. Do you think the stewards will penalize Max?
I think it'd be a tragedy if they did. I think they made the right call during the race that there was a racing incident and there's nothing to investigate.
And also, I pretty much know the answer to this question too. If it wasn't such a highly contested race this season, do you think Mercedes would have brought this to the stewards?
No.
I don't think so either.
No. If Lewis was way out in front, they wouldn't have said anything.
As you said, it was
petty.
Petty.
Yeah, I would expect more.
And a pretty good showing by Bottas this weekend.
Well, not really.
Well, yeah,
I think you pitted 5. They pitted him 5 times. I don't know why. That's another thing. They're kind of doing him dirty, and I don't know if it's because he's leaving, or I don't know. There's just there's some real pettiness there, just in the whole Mercedes team that's kind of taking the shine off of the greatness that they're at the verge of, and I think that let the man race until he's not racing for you anymore, and starts out in pole position, and of course Max dispatched him pretty quick off the line, but then it was just like, where the hell did he go? Well, he's pitted 5 times. What the hell? Everybody else is pitting once and 2. He's in there 5 times. I mean, come on.
Well, he pitted 5 times.
I don't know. Maybe.
And he still came out third. Behind him, we had Perez, 40 seconds off of Lewis Hamilton. So that's a distance that Mercedes, as you pointed out, was pushing that car in qualifying, in sprint, and finally at the tail end of the race. So that shows you wow. I don't know if they could perform that well in Qatar, but we'll see about that. And Ferrari finished 5 and 6, respectively, and those are the last 2 ones that did not get lapped. So both McLarens got lapped. And we pointed this out last episode that it's like, I don't know what's going on with McLaren. It's like if we see an upside with Ferrari, we're seeing a downcline with McLaren. Do you see the same thing with that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, well, everything's kind of getting flipped up and down. The only consistent teams are the Red Bull and the Mercedes. Everybody else is kind of shuffling around now. Yeah. And I'm really surprised. Well, I'm not too surprised, but I'm disheartened to see the Haas and Williams fighting for last place again. And
Unfortunately, so.
it's like they've given up. It's like they shot their shot, and they got close and got him into some qualifying rounds. Got Russell and got Latifi into the points a couple of times. Now it's like, how the hell with it? We got 4 races left. Let's just not even try. I mean, it has to be hard to drive for them. I'm kind of glad that George is going to move on to Mercedes, give him a shot. I think he's going to win a lot of races.
I think so too. That's going to be a good battle between him and Lewis Hamilton starting next year. Let's move on to Qatar. We talked about this a couple episodes ago about the Qatar Grand Prix and that track there. And you think it is a MotoGP track for the most part, but there's quite a bit of runoff areas. It kind of reminds me of Bahrain a little bit. So I think that does well with Red Bull. What do you expect from this race?
Well, this is one of the first night races too, right? That they race at night. It's
going to be
so hot during the day over there. Yeah, so it's going to be hot and muggy, and it's hard to say at this point because whatever Mercedes did, they're dialed in. Might have been those new motors they got. I don't know, but Hamilton's going to be hard to beat for the rest of the time out.
Well, it's going to be interesting too because I hope Perez's drink works since it's going to be hot and muggy out there. So we'll see about that.
It's probably going to be Red Bull and Mercedes for the rest of the time. Mm-hmm. Those 4 drivers are going to be battling it out unless there's something catastrophic like a crash. Like I said at the beginning of the year, and unless there's a massive crash that takes out any one of them, those 4 drivers are going to be at the top every time.
Absolutely, and
I'll congratulate you now since I see your tactic. I see your tactic once you've pulled ahead.
No. That's not.
I see your tactic. I'm on to you, man.
Well, if that's the case here, that's the point so far.
I am on to you.
Well, you're close. Everybody's close right
now. For everybody watching, what Brock's going to do is basically make the same picks that I picked for the rest of the year. The last 4 races, whatever I pick, he's going to pick. And that way it ensures he's going to win because, there's never an advantage. So I think I went to the marshals. Hold on. Has that been confirmed? Yes, I believe that's been confirmed. Okay, for the last 4 races, we will alternate.
3 races.
For the last 3 races, we will alternate. And since you are the leader, you will pick first. And I cannot pick the same picks as you.
Well, for the record, too, I'm also the steward, so I could give a crap about that.
No, hold on. Your fellow stewards have said that since you are a competitor also, that you have been recused from your duties. So that's the rules going in.
Who are you talking to?
Hold on. They wish to remain anonymous, but the voices in my head say that's the way we're going to do it.
Well,
Owens, wait a minute. Since you're ahead right now, I get to pick first.
Okay.
You can't pick the same people I pick.
It says your voice is in your head.
Says the voices in my head.
All right, go ahead then.
Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez.
And your wild card.
Pierre Gasly will be 4th.
For the record, I had Pierre Gasly as my wild card. I won't change it for you, okay? But first, I'll give you Chaz. Of course, he has Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas. And his wild card is both McLarens will finish in the top 7. So my podium has to please your voices in your head.
Hold on. Yeah, my voices said they don't care.
Of course they don't. So I have Max, Lewis, and I'll go with Valtteri finish out the top podium there. And I'll say that once again, one of the Ferraris will finish in the top 7. So all that is completely out of the way. Like I give a crap about your voices in your head. So, but I did it to please you. So, and speaking about Valtteri, we have another item to discuss here, and that's Chaz's pick for his 100 points there. If between Monza and the end of the season, if Bottas finishes 5 podiums, Chaz will get 100 points. If he doesn't, Chaz will lose 100 points. So we have 3 races left to go, and right now we stand at 3. So
he's got to go 2 out of the 3. Yeah, he can do it.
He can do it, but will he? That's the question.
I don't know. He can do it though. He's solely within his wheelhouse for sure.
Well, it's interesting to see since it's very close to Bahrain, both track and in geography there. I think Qatar is a very good race for both Mercedes and Red Bull, but I think Red Bull will probably push it out a little bit, at least on the podium. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now. I would have liked to see Max win, but now it's just after Hamilton's performance. I think he's going to win this year. He's going to take it. He's going to take the championship, and he's going to retire.
Still in that prediction.
Yeah. He'll win his 8th, and there's really nothing else you can do after that. He's got other things he wants to do, and I even think that it might even be he might not. Max might hang in there for the win, and he'd still retire because it's just. What else are you going to do? I mean, you're the greatest driver. He is the.
That makes me wonder if the stewards and I, which we just discussed in my head, about an extra prediction for next year. If by next March, Lewis Hamilton has announced by retirement, by the next season start, you get 100 points.
Me? To start the season?
Start the season.
Sure, why not?
But if Lewis starts next season, you lose 100 points.
I saw 100 in the hole?
Yeah.
That's not. Hold on. The voices in my head say that's a horrible idea.
So no bet.
I'm not anti-Hamilton here.
No, I'm just
making an observation. He's the greatest driver ever to strap it up.
He is, and I have to give credit where credit's due, and I agree with you on that. I'm just posing another opportunity for you to get 100 points starting next season.
I tell you what, if George Russell wins his first Grand Prix in the first 5 races of next season, give me 100 points.
I'll convey that to the stewards. We'll get back with you.
I'll have my stewards call your stewards.
On that note, I don't know how we're going to take it anywhere else from here, but let's try. We had a Twitter question, and it is pretty, once again, non-absolved because, making news again. We asked you guys, will Alfa Romeo re-sign Antonio Giovinazzi for the 2022 season? And 78% of you guys said no. They had some great comments in there, but apparently the no's had it, and so far the news is that Formula 2 driver Zhou is heading to Alfa Romeo for the 2022 season. So this week's Twitter question we'll discuss next time would be, how much or how will Alfa Romeo perform in the 2022 season? Will they perform better, the same, or worse going into 2022 with both two new drivers, one season, one a rookie? So we'll discuss that next time. But this time, right now, I want to discuss with you, Mike, the Formula 2 driver, as much as you know. I mean, he is performing pretty well. How much of an impact will he make with Alfa Romeo or in Formula 1, period, going into 2022?
Well, I don't know that much about him to make a comment, to be honest with you. I know to make it to F1, you got to catch somebody's eye.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I hope he does well, because I think that diversity within the sport is good, and I would like to see. I'd like to see Tsunoda do really good. I thought he came out the gate real fast, and he's been adequate, but I think that has more to do with him just getting comfortable with the politics and the team aspect of F1, because everybody we pay attention to the drivers like we pay attention to the quarterback, but there's a whole team there, and the win goes to the pit crew and the mechanics and the engineers and everybody else just as much as it goes to the driver. The driver's just the quarterback in the face, but at the end of the day, if you don't have that team behind you, you can have the best arm in the league, but if you go out there and the whole team doesn't like you, they're not going to block for you or catch any passes. And I think Tsunoda's pissed a lot of people off. I think he's had to learn how to temper himself a little bit and kind of figure out his role in things. And one of the things that makes a great driver and a successful driver, especially at F1, is the relationship that they build with their team. And
Right.
Those guys, you go to a pit, and you look at how they're working on the car. There's everybody in the Mercedes and Red Bull pit would do anything for Verstappen and Hamilton and Bottas and Perez. They would do anything for them. Stay up late. They will throw everything at it. And then you go to another pit where the guys don't really like the driver and don't really care. They're just there for a paycheck. They're going to turn a bolt just because they have to, not because they're looking to make the car any better. So, when you're that critical of your team publicly, even though you may be frustrated, that's something you take internally. You go talk to your team about that, because they're the ones that are going to fix it, not the press. And I think he's had to learn a hard lesson with that. So hopefully he comes out next year and cultivates it better if he's around. I haven't heard that they're not going to sign him again. I hope they do, because he is a talented racer. He just needs to learn how to temper himself. But it would be good to. I would love to see a female driver, to be honest with you. And I know there was I ran across a couple of articles where there are some female drivers that are being earmarked for future. I don't know what team they'd go to, but I know Williams is one of them. I was looking at a female driver, so that would be cool to get that kind of gender diversity and diversity across the way, especially in a sport that's now gaining popularity through it's regaining the popularity it had back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Through the Netflix show, and hopefully through our little podcast and other podcasts like ours, people are starting to talk about F1 again, and it's kind of pushing NASCAR to the side in the big picture, because it is a universal global sport.
Yeah.
It's everyone. So each country gets to show their pride when that race is in their country. So it's special. It's not, it's unlike any other race, because it is on the world stage. It's not just in America or just in South Africa or just in Europe or just, it's not a regional race. Somebody asked me what the difference between F1 and IndyCar racing is. Well, that's it. Indy's in the United States. They race in all the circuits in the United States, and they race ovals. F1 doesn't do that. F1 races everywhere.
Yeah.
The whole world. So it brings the whole world together. So I would like to see more diversity in the drivers, not just all European drivers. I'd like to see some American drivers. One Canadian driver, but there's outside of the Canadian driver, and then the Brazilian.
Well, no, you have Perez from Mexico. You have
Perez from Mexico, and then there's the Brazilian kid.
Well, you have both.
But there's nobody from the United States.
Right. There's Lance Stroll and there's
some
Latifi.
There's Latifi and Stroll. Yeah, but there's nobody. Yeah, they're from this hemisphere, but Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. Nobody from the United States. I'd like to see a United States driver drive again, and have a pure United States team, not a United States team that's bought by a Russian that can't get out of last place.
I still say Andrade has potential to buy an F1 team. I know so many people are against that idea and don't believe because it's not really profitable the first couple of years, but I don't know. That's a different discussion for a different time. We'll discuss that later on, probably during the off season too. But just back to Zhou right quick. He's actually in second right now in the F2 standings, right? And he's in the hunt. He's like 30, 35 points behind the leader right now. So with only 2 races left to go, you have Jeddah and United Arab Emirates there. Was that?
Who's he driving for? What team?
I'm not too sure. I'm like you. I'm not too familiar with.
It's the first I've heard of him, so I'm gonna have to look into him for 2 weeks or so. We're taking our summer break, our Thanksgiving break.
Well, we're driving for the F2 team that's actually under Alpine, based out of Great Britain. And in F2 cars, as you know, so many people point out before, it's much different from the F1 car. So, and you see that, as you pointed out, in the rookies this season of Mazepin, Yuki Tsunoda and stuff like that, they're having a hard time trying to adjust to an F1 car.
I bet you Mazepin would love to get his F2
I don't know how.
His F2 car would probably perform better than the F1 car piece of crap they gave him. I mean, it's
probably so. Most likely that Haas.
Well, they better bring it next year. Haas better bring it because they just rode off this year, and it's been frustrating for me as a fan because you hate to see that. They're just getting in the way. Why even race? You're just a permanent back marker.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Qatar does this weekend too. I mean, it's the first time the F1's on that track, and starting in 2023, they're going to be there for the next 10 years. So we'll see how that goes and how the 23 calendar will work out too, because you had to fit Qatar in there plus all the others like Miami, Canada, and all the other races. By the way, we pointed this out a few months ago, but I do miss how Brazil was the final race in the season. The last time that happened was back in 2013. We'll see. And also, not to mention, I forgot to make this point too, Zhou is the very first Chinese driver in F1 history. As many times they've been to China, this is the first Chinese driver they have. And F1 is actually much bigger there than it is here. It's still growing here and has potential to be bigger. But I was kind of surprised that Zhou is the very first F1 driver from China.
Yeah, it's crazy it's taken this long.
Mm-hmm. And this rumor, too, that China will make a comeback, too, as far as a Grand Prix. That is a very unique course they have. And it's a very hard course for them, too.
Yeah.
Very hard on the tires. But we'll see about that. As Mike pointed out, we're going to take next week off because here in the States, it is Thanksgiving. So we'll take a little break there. We'll be back the following week for the brand new Jeddah track in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So that's very interesting, too. And then also there's going to be a night race as well. Mm-hmm. So excited to see that. Can't wait for that. It's going to be a very nailed track, too. So That's one thing we could assess too. Break that down a little bit too. Not much overtaking, so qualifying is very important there. There's not going to have a sprint race not until next season. So, in the meantime, we'll wish you the best of luck. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook at Former Racing. Email us theformerracing@gmail.com, and make sure you please like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow this channel, get out more and more videos for you to enjoy. And please give us any topics you'd like for us to cover here on the F1 starting grid. So we'll see you next time. Well, hopefully Mike will not be in first.
Hold on. Stuart says yes, I will.
We'll see.